Greetings, Magic players. This is Steve of Untapped Games, and I am excited because I have a booster box of Khans of Tarkir right here. I have been anxiously awaiting this set, and I am ready to just dig right in. So, what is the deal with Khans of Tarkir? It is a wedge block, or a wedge set, not a wedge block, which means that the theme of similar to guilds, instead of guilds we have clans, and each clan is 3 colors, and those colors include if we look at the back of a magic card, that's a tip. If we look at the back of the magic card, like for instance one wedge would be this wedge, black, red, and white. So that forms a wedge, that triangle, meaning that white is an opposing color to both red and black. So for each of the colors, there is a clan that includes that color and its 2 opposing colors, and that's what a wedge is. So for instance, the one that I just talked about is Mardu, which is this wing symbol here you can see in the background. And each one of the clans has its own ability and stuff having to deal with whatever the shared attribute of those 3 colors is. So red, white, and black, for instance, is an extremely aggressive combination. So it deals with red speed, white's board covering ability in terms of having a lot of little creatures, and black's removal. So that's what Mardu is. So we're just going to go through as usual, pick out the rare, and just sort of glance at the other cards. So the rare in this pack is Altar of the Brood. It's a 1 cost artifact. Whenever another permanent enters the battlefield under your control, each opponent puts the top card of his or her library into his or her graveyard. So I see that as being pretty good for Commander. If you have a mill Commander deck, could be used in a mill deck, in non-Commander, but the fact that it does it to all your opponents and not just one is advantageous. Oh, awesome! Speaking of Mardu, Zurgo Helm Smasher is the, I guess he's the clan general for Mardu. He's 2, a red, a white, and a black. He's a mythic, legendary creature orc warrior. He has haste. He attacks each combat if able, and he is destructible as long as it's your turn. Whenever a creature dealt damage by Zurgo Helm Smasher this turn dies, put a +1/+1 counter on Zurgo Helm Smasher. So he gets bigger and bigger and bigger, and the opponent only has the ability to sort of deal with him with usual means on their own turn, on their own turn. So they need to do it at kind of a sorcery speed, which is pretty powerful. He's a very aggressive card. So I'm looking for these generals. I want more of these generals, and I want what do I want? Well, the big to-do with this is the fetch lands, which I'll talk about if I get one. I think I should get one. Hopefully I'll get one. And also the planeswalkers in this set are incredibly cool. So Mardu Ascendancy is my rare here. I also got a foil Mardu Hateblade. So it's a red, a white, and a black for an enchantment. Whenever a non-token creature you control attacks, put a 1/1 red goblin creature token onto the battlefield, tapped and attacking. Sacrifice Mardu Ascendancy. Creatures you control get +0/+3 until end of turn. This is a part of a cycle. Each of one of the clans has an Ascendancy enchantment, and they all kind of work like that. They have an effect that sort of gives a boost to that strategy. So here's another one. Temur Ascendancy. Green, blue, and red for an enchantment. Creatures you control have haste. Whenever a creature with power 4 or greater enters the battlefield under your control, you may draw a card. So that's a good one. A lot of the cards that we were going to be getting, especially in rare, the rare rarity, and in uncommons as well, are going to be multicolor, because this is a big multicolor set. It was very interesting to play pre-release because of how much multicolor was going around. And I apologize in advance. I have a cold, so I'm sorry if I go, whoa, what? Awesome. This is only my third pack. I'm doing so well, guys. The Sarkhan, the Dragon Speaker, 3/2 red, Planeswalker, Sarkhan. His +1 ability is until end of turn, Sarkhan the Dragon Speaker becomes a legendary 4/4 red dragon creature with flying, indestructible, and haste. He doesn't lose loyalty while he's not a Planeswalker. -3 ability. So, not to glaze over that, that's kind of an amazing +1 ability. I saw a lot of people on online kind of talking about this guy, being like, well, you know, you could just put out a what do you call it, Storm Breath Dragon and yada yada. That's also hasted dragon, and he also gets an enter the battlefield effect or whatever. Not, does he get an enter the battlefield effect? I don't think he does. It's like some when he attacks effect. Some, I can't remember. It's been so long since I played Storm Breath Dragon. I played him in a pre-release, but anyhow, yeah. This guy's awesome. I'm sorry, he's so cool. I mean, I love Planeswalkers. If you watch this channel, you know that. His -3 ability is Sarkhan the Dragon Speaker deals 4 damage to target creature, so he's got a lot of utility there. And his -6 ability is you get an emblem with, at the beginning of your draw step, draw 2 additional cards, and at the beginning of your end step, discard your hand. So that is an incredibly aggressive ability. What that means is when you play that ability, you're saying, I'm not planning on ever keeping any cards in my hand. I'm just going to be dumping my hand with burn, with aggressive creatures, and by the time I get that -6 ability out. And it's kind of doable. I mean, as long as you can protect this guy, he starts off at 4 loyalty. So that's in 3 turns, assuming you don't have any way to pump him. So that's not like out of the question to have that -6 ability. Usually the ultimate ability is like something that wouldn't really, you know, you're winning if it's coming into play already. Oh, nice. Fetch land. So for those of you who don't know, a fetch land is a land that is geared towards multicolor decks, and what it'll do is it will fetch a type of land out of your library. Then you'll shuffle your library. You put that land into the battlefield, untapped. You do have to pay 1 life and sacrifice the fetch land. But so you tap, pay 1 life, sacrifice Flooded Strand, search your library for a plains or an island card, and put it onto the battlefield. Then shuffle your library. How is that different from the card like Evolving Wilds? Well, for one thing, obviously, you put that land into the battlefield untapped, so you're able to use it right away. And also, because it's not necessarily searching out a basic land, it's searching out just a plains or an island. And dual lands and shock lands both have plains and island on their descriptor line. So that means you can search out, like, let's say a this could be used to search out Sacred Foundry, because Sacred Foundry is also a plains. So even if I get this and I need red mana, I can search out Sacred Foundry. I'll be paying some life to use it, but it's doable if I absolutely need that that red mana, and I'm running like a 3-color deck that way. So fetch lands are incredibly good, and these fetch lands have not been in standard, I believe, since Onslaught, so they're kind of a big deal. So if you've been wondering why people have been talking about fetch lands, now you're in the loop. Ankle Shanker, another Mardu card. I fought 2 Mardu decks in pre-release, and I got trampled both times by cards like this. So 2, a red, a white, and a black for a Goblin Berserker with haste. He's a 2/2, and whenever he attacks, creatures you control gain first strike and death touch until end of turn. Incredibly, incredibly aggressive, as all Mardu cards are. And it's just really tough to beat, especially since, you know, you need to deal with him pronto, otherwise all your creatures are just getting death touched. You kind of like have to let them go by, otherwise you're just losing creatures, because they don't, unless they have first strike, they don't get to hit back. Another Temur card, green, a blue, and a red for an Ogre Warrior. He has, this guy's really good. He is 2 and a green for the following ability. Savage Knuckleblade gets +2/+2 until end of turn. Activate this ability only once each turn. 2 and a blue, return him to your hand, to the owner's hand. And red, Savage Knuckleblade gains haste until end of turn. This is an incredibly, incredibly versatile beater because he can escape with the blue ability, he can pump with the green ability. As long as you have mana open, he's potentially a 6/6. And if he, I mean, you could start in with this guy on turn 3 potentially, or you know, sooner if you have ramp. But then if you happen to draw him after that and you have an extra red mana open, he's a hasted 4/4. So this guy is good whatever turn past 3 you draw him at. So efficiently costed, as long as you, basically he rewards you for having a good mana base. As long as your deck curves out well and fixes well, he has you covered as far as beefy guy roll goes. So very good card. Oh, another fetch land. Yeah, I knew I'd be getting fetch lands, but these guys, I mean, I'm always happy. So fetch lands, planeswalkers, so far so good. Wooded Foothills, a land, tap, pay 1 life, sacrifice Wooded Foothills, and this gets you mountain or forest. Another cool thing about that is if you have cards like Courser of Kruphix that allow you to look at the top card of your library, or scry cards, and you know what's on the top of your library, and you don't like that card, you can always crack your fetch land, and then use the shuffle ability to shuffle it off the top of your library. So that is a really you're trying to eke out as much use out of every card in your deck as possible, but that's an extra utility that you can leverage. Sultai Ascendancy, a black, a green, and a blue for an enchantment. At the beginning of your upkeep, look at the top 2 cards of your library. Put any number of them into your graveyard, and the rest back on top of your library in any order. So that's sort of just a good way to, it's almost like scrying, except you can put them into your graveyard, and the reason being that Sultai has abilities to access the graveyard, and we'll probably see one at some point. Okay, so yeah, I'm kind of breezing through that, but Sultai is also, it's another one of the guilds, or the clans rather. So there's Mardu, Temur, Sultai, Azban, and Jeskai is the other one. So High Sentinels of Arashin, 3 and a white for a bird soldier with flying. High Sentinels of Arashin gets +1/+1 for each other creature you control with a +1/+1 counter on it. For 3 and a white, put a +1/+1 counter on target creature, and he's 3/4. So you can see this guy is fairly self-sufficient because he has a conditional ability, but he's able to use that conditional ability himself. So whenever you have 3 and a white free, this guy can pump himself without tapping himself. A lot of these Azban have an ability called Outlast. So Asban has a lot of +1/+1 counters by default, but if you don't happen to have those +1/+1 counters out, this guy has you covered. So he's a good card as well. I'll push this up here to allow for some of my non-gold cards. Okay. Howl of the Horde. Sort of a tricky card here. 2 and a red. Sorcery. When you cast your next instant or sorcery spell this turn, copy that spell. You may choose new targets for the copy. If you attacked with a creature this turn, when you cast your next instant or sorcery spell, copy that spell an additional time. You may choose new targets for the copy. So if you have 2 of these in hand and enough mana to cast this and something else, like let's say a lightning bolt, you can potentially do tons of damage because it creates kind of like a generational effect where one Howl of the Horde after you've attacked, then you cast another Howl of Horde, so that means you're casting 2 Howls of the Horde, and then after that, if you cast a lightning bolt, then that lightning bolt gets multiplied twice for each Howl of the Horde, so then you're duplicating your lightning bolt 4 times, which is crazy. Alrighty. Oh, Flying Crane Technique. So this is an instant. It's 3, a blue, a red, and a white. It's in Jeskai. Untap all creatures you control. They gain flying and double strike until end of turn. So that could be a a blowout play, I would imagine. Yeah, that's pretty crazy. Especially you use this obviously when your enemy thinks that you're all tapped out, and then they all of a sudden gain the ability to destroy most stuff. Let me put him up here and him down here. So I did terribly at pre-release. I don't know about you guys. I was sick then too, and I was having trouble because this is actually a very nuanced set. You have a lot of decisions to make. This is a good card. Dune Blast, 4, a white, a black, and a green. So that's Asban. It's a sorcery. Choose up to 1 creature, destroy the rest. So it's a great board wipe, and it leaves you with whatever your strongest creature is. So that's extremely useful. Okay. But yeah, the other thing that I haven't really shown, I don't think we've come across a morph card, but there's morph in this set, which was an old invasion block ability. Here's another rare, 1 and a green, Trail of Mystery, enchantment. Whenever a face-down creature enters the battlefield under your control, you may search your library for a basic land card, reveal it, put it into your hand, and then shuffle your library. Whenever a permanent you control is turned face up, if it's a creature, it gets +2/+2 until end of turn. So this is a great time to talk about morph, because this uses the morph's mechanic. A morph creature is, or a morph card, they're not necessarily all creatures, but I think they're all creatures in this set. But a morph card is a card that you can, rather than casting it normally, you can cast it face down as a 2/2 creature for 3 colorless mana, and then it's a colorless 2/2 creature. And then on the other side, there is a cost that you can pay to flip it right side up. So when you first cast your morph card face down, this would let you search for a basic land, reveal it, put it into your hand, then shuffle your library. And then whenever it gets flipped face up, it gets +2/+2 until end of turn. What that does, what the effect that has on play, is it makes the mana curve of every deck more resilient for getting, or more consistently getting a 3-drop. But it also makes it so I was constantly worried about, like, oh, is this the right time to play Morph? You know, because it usually costs some mana. Rattleclaw Mystic, 1 and a green. This is a really good card. Human Shaman. He is a mana dork that can tap for any of the Temur mana, so green, blue, or red. And he's a morph card, so we just talked about that. You can pay 2 colorless mana to flip him right side, or you know, face up. And when he is turned face up, add a green, a blue, and a red mana to your mana pool. If you play this guy with other mana dorks like Elvish Mystic, he can potentially make your turn 3, I guess it would be. So yeah, turn... Well, actually, even if this guy just came out like turn 2, right? You get tons of mana on turn 3. Wait, so sorry. I was right the first time. You use your mana dork, and then on turn 2, you play this guy because you'll have 2 lands and your Elvish Mystic, and then so you play him for 3. Then on turn 3, you use your morph cost of 2, and then you flip him back over, so you have theoretically 3 lands on turn 3 and 1 mana dork, so you use 2 of them, and then you have 2 left open, and then you tap this guy because you're able to use him now, and he also puts in 3 extra mana, so that's 4 mana plus 1 mana plus your mana dork, so you have like 5 mana open on turn 3, so that's crazy. You can play a lot of cool stuff like that. So he is a mana accelerator, and also a mana fixer, because he lets you turn colorless mana into Temur color mana. Sorry, that was long-winded, but I'm kind of excited about that card to see whether that sees standard play. Crackling Doom. Red, white, and a black. For an instant, Crackling Doom deals 2 damage to each opponent. Each opponent sacrifices a creature with the greatest power among creatures he or she controls. This is a very good card. Why? Because it gets rid of gods. Because sacrificing, usually the last card that you want to sacrifice is the one with the greatest power, because that's your heavy hitter. It's like the one that you sacrifice around, but this, you know, specifically makes you sacrifice that one. And it also deals a little bit of damage, so that's just gravy on top of that. So good multi-purpose card there. Yeah, Mardu is incredibly strong. Jeering Instigator, 1 and a red. For a Goblin Rogue, he's morph cost is 2 and a red. Whenever he is turned face up, if it's your turn, gain control of another target creature until end of turn. Untap that creature, it gains haste until end of turn, and he's 2/1. So that's an interesting little, he's kind of like a morph act of treason on a stick. Yeah, he's pretty cool. Villainous Wealth. By the way, this is a morph token. Back in the day, morph creatures were depicted in magic art as being like these weird 6-legged clay creatures. They were weird looking. But now I guess they've opted for a more indistinct look. They're kind of like a ball of light now. Villainous Wealth. X, a black, and a green, and a blue. So that's Sultai. Sorcery. Target opponent exiles the top X cards of his or her library. You may cast any number of non-land cards with converted mana cost X or less from among them without paying their mana costs. So that's pretty cool. You get to use your opponent's deck against them rather efficiently. especially if that's cast for enough, then you can just, you know, cast. If you cast that for like 5, you could probably play most of their stuff. Depending on the deck you're playing against, that is. So, See the Unwritten. It's a mythic. For a green and a green, I know what color that is. Sorcery. Reveal the top 8 cards of your library. You may put a creature card from among them onto the battlefield. Put the rest into your graveyard. And Ferocious, which is Temur's ability. If you control a creature with power 4 or greater, you may put 2 creature cards onto the battlefield instead of 1. So this is kind of like, it's kind of like almost like a Lead the Stampede or any of these other green cards that let you look at the top cards of your library. But it lets you put 2 onto the battlefield, so that's very good. I guess this is kind of competing in terms of what slot it is with not Feral Invocation. I can't remember. Oh, Court of Calling. But that Court of Calling actually lets you go through your deck. Potentially costs more. Only lets you have 1 onto the battlefield. So I don't know. I'm not the guy to ask on which is better. I think Court of Calling would let you have more versatility, whereas this one could potentially, in the right deck, let you later in the game put out 2 humongous cards. But you know, Necropolis Fiend, 7, a black and a black for a demon that is 4/5. It has Delve, which is the Sultai ability. Delve means that each card you exile from your graveyard while casting the spell pays for 1. So you just get rid of your graveyard. It has flying. It also has tap X and tap the card. Then exile X cards from your graveyard. Target creature gets -X, -X until end of turn. So this guy is pretty cool in terms of, I mean, he's a beast in limited, because just having a 4/5 potentially on turn, well, it's hard to do it on turn 2 because you need to get 7 cards in your graveyard, but you could potentially get him out there really quick. And then just the constant ability, the constant threat of just completely zapping your enemy's creatures 1 by 1 is makes him a huge threat. Each one of the guilds has charms, or each one of the clans has charms. Rakshasa Vizier, 2, a black, a green, and a blue for a cat demon. That's pretty cool. I love that art. Whenever 1 or more cards are put into exile from your graveyard, put that many +1/+1 counters on Rakshasa Vizier. So that goes along with the Delve thing that Sultai has going on. You can make him larger and larger the more you delve. So I have Wingmate Rock. It is a mythic, 3, 2 white for a bird. It has flying, it's 3/4. It has a raid ability. When Wingmate Rock enters the battlefield, if you attacked with a creature this turn, put a 3/4 white bird creature token with flying onto the battlefield. Whenever Wingmate Rock attacks, you may gain 1 life for each attacking creature. So, assuming that you play this in your post-combat main phase after you've attacked, which, you know, I don't know why you wouldn't. This is a 2 for the price of 1 card. I mean, that's pretty efficiently costed. 5 mana for 2 3/4s with flying, and then this guy has also got an ability to boot. That's really good. I also have this Bear's Companion. I don't know whether let's read him. He's a foil. 2, a green, a blue, and a red for a human warrior. When Bear's Companion enters the battlefield, put a 4/4 green bear creature token onto the battlefield, and this guy's 2/2. So it kind of goes along with the same theme. It's 2 for the price of 1. Oops. All right. This is our third column of the deck. I mean, our second column of the deck. By deck, I mean booster box. Oh, Butcher the Horde. I recall this guy was really cool too. Butcher of the Horde, 1, a red, a white, and a black for a demon with flying, and he's 5/4. Sacrifice another creature. Butcher the Horde gains your choice of vigilance, lifelink, or haste until end of turn. He's super, super scary that way. Especially because Mardu excels at getting out little creatures. And if you think about it, red and white both are good at creating like little creature tokens like goblins or soldiers. So it's possible to give this guy vigilance, lifelink, and haste the turn he comes out with stuff like raise the alarm and triplicate spirits and things like that. So yeah, he's also efficiently costed. That's 4 for a 5/4 flying, and yeah, very, very good. Also combos well with stuff like that Jeering Instigator, because if you take control of your enemy's creature with that and other active treason effects, then this guy becomes incredibly scary, because you can sacrifice your enemy's creatures in order to make him vigilant or life-linked or hasted. Very, very cool. Alright. Oh, Utter End. I feel like the designers really liked Mardu. I mean, first of all, I'm just drawing a lot of Mardu, so that's part of it. So 2, a white, and a black for an instant. Exile target non-land permanent. This is just a really, really, really good removal spell. It is so open-ended, and it exiles rather than destroys, so it, you know, this is like the nail in the coffin to gods to me. I mean, this is like a just such a good card. It's costed at just the right cost to make it useful. Yeah, that is crazy. It's funny because the art there is that's the general, that Zergo Helm Smasher. I actually think this card is better than his own creature card. Alrighty. Oh, Karo Spell Snatcher. So this is a Sultai card, Sultai themed card. 3 and a blue for a Naga Wizard. That's 3/3. It has Morph for 4 and 2 blue mana, so a while after you cast it as a 2/2. When Karu's Spell Snatcher is turned face up, counter target spell. If that spell is countered this way, exile it instead of putting it into its owner's graveyard. You may cast that card without paying its mana cost for as long as it remains exiled. So that's pretty cool. If you see something you like, take it, I guess. So it's also my first blue, mono blue rare that I've got drawn. Oh, Karu Lichlord. It's another Sultai. So for 3, a black, green, and a blue, you get a Zombie Wizard that's 4/4. At the beginning of your upkeep, you may pay 2 and a black. If you do, return a creature card at random from your graveyard to the battlefield. It gains flying, trample, and haste. Exile that card at the beginning of your next end step. If it would leave the battlefield, exile it, putting it anywhere else. So, yeah, that's pretty cool. I mean, it probably, well, actually, no, it does work well with Delve, because you can delve the cards that you're not interested in drawing out of your graveyard. So you just get rid of all the other creatures and then play this guy's ability. So that's really cool. For a second, I was going to say that doesn't really line up with Delve that well, but it does, because you can choose with Delve what you're going to get rid of and keep the stuff that you want to throw at your opponent with flying trample and haste. Yeah. Sagu Mauler. 4 a green and a blue for a beast that is 6/6. He has trample, hexproof, and he's morph, so you can morph him face up for 3, a green, and a blue. So what that really does, and what a lot of these morph cards do, is if you have the mana to cast him here, you're not going to cast him as morph unless he has like a morph, like a when you turn this face up ability. This guy doesn't have anything like that. So what all that means is he occupies 2 points. You know, the card itself occupies 2 points within your mana curve. He's a 2/2 for 3, and then you can cheat him out a little earlier for morph, or you can cast him. You can hard cast him, and he's a trample hexproof 6/6. So that makes that card very versatile. I'm going to put him. I'm going to put him with the Temur, even though he's a 2-color rare. Okay, and another fetch land. This one is Bloodstained Mire, and that's the black-red fetch land. So it searches out swamps and mountains. So we're nearing the end of this booster box. Dig Through Time. 6 and 2 blue for an instant with Delve. Look at the top 7 cards of your library, put 2 of them into your hand and the rest on the bottom of your library in any order. So that's really cool, I guess. It's more of like, this is for a control deck, just to make sure that you have everything lined up that you need, you know, on whatever turn you need them in. So the Delve thing makes it, the Delve thing is useful because, you know, whatever deck you're putting that in isn't necessarily going to be using the graveyard. Well, that's not necessarily true, but you just consider some of the cards that are in your graveyard expendable. Windswept Heath, which is the green-white fetch land. Boy, I might get all 5. Hopefully. Right now, those fetch lands are quite valued, so this is a really good box. Sage of the Inward Eye, 2, a blue, a red, and a white. So it's Jeskai, or America, or Raka. That's what they used to call those. I mean, they used to call it America because it's red, white, and blue. And then before this set, there were different names for those color combinations. But right now we're just going to call them by their current names. So Jeskai, it's a Jin Wizard that is 3/4. It is has flying. Whenever you cast a non-creature spell, creatures you control gain lifelink until end of turn. So Jeskai has that going for it. Non-creature spells buff their creatures, and usually it's called prowess, but in this case, it's prowess gives it a +1/+1 for every non-creature spell you cast until end of turn, and then this one just gives you a lifelink until end of turn instead. So that's pretty cool. Ooh, blood-soaked. Whoa! Oh, dang! I almost thought that was the. It would have been incredible to get a foil fetch land, but that is a foil. It's a land that comes out tapped. but it gains you a life. So it's still cool. It's a dual land. It's worth probably a couple bucks. So Bloodsoaked Champion, that is a human warrior for 1 black. He is a 2/1. He can't block, but he has this raid ability. For 1 and a black, return Bloodsoaked Champion from your graveyard to the battlefield. Activate this ability only if you attacked with a creature this turn. So this guy is not going away anytime soon, unless he gets exiled or something similar. You know, pacified, things like that. Actually had him used against me in pre-release. Incredibly aggressive for aggro decks. Rakshasa Death Dealer. This is a good card, especially in limited. Black and a green for a cat demon. It has the following. It's 2/2 and has the following abilities. Black and a green. Rakshasa Death Dealer gets +2/+2 until end of turn. Black and a green. Regenerate Rakshasa Death Dealer. So potentially a, well, as big as you want him, and 4/4, 6/6, whatever, as long as you have the mana. And then if he gets into trouble, just keep that green and a black untapped, and you can regen him. So just a really, really good card. Put him in there with the Sultai buddies. Okay, closing in. Oh, hey, I think I did it. Awesome. And I got a foil rare, yay. Oh, and I also got an emblem. Good pack, Steve, good pack. Polluted Delta, it's the blue-black fetch land, so I have completed my cycle. Master of Pearls, a 1 and a white. For a 2/2, so he's just normally he's a bear, but you have the option of casting him as a morph creature. So for 3 and 2 white, you can flip him face up. When Master of Pearls is turned face up, creatures you control get +2/+2 until end of turn. So he's kind of like a, when he morphs, he's a combat trick for all your creatures. So that's pretty cool. And an emblem for Sorin, who I haven't gotten, and I probably won't because I only have 1 pack left. But Sorin's ultimate ability gives you this emblem, and it reads, at the beginning of each opponent's upkeep, that player sacrifices a creature. Incredibly powerful. Last pack. Okay, it's another Jeering Instigator. Alright, so that has been this this booster box. I hope you guys enjoyed that. I sure did. This set looks amazing. I think it's a very nuanced set, especially in limited. From what I played during pre-release, it seemed like there was a lot of decisions being made every turn. Just as a reminder, we are still doing our Facebook contest, so I'm going to put a link in the description so that you can get to that. Just to remind you, that contest ends on October 1st, at midnight of October 1st, so you should get in on that as soon as you can. And yeah, the prize for that, going to 2 people, is half a booster box of Cons of Tarkir. So if you like the stuff that you saw in this video, you can potentially be opening your own packs if you win that contest. So get in on that, and you know, check out the video that explains it. And I really hope you guys enjoyed, and this set looks really promising. I hope you're excited about it too. So take care, and I hope you draw the cards you need, and I'll see you next time.